I'm tired of pretending to be extroverted for the benefit of other people. I'm tired of putting on this mask, stepping into this role, which I can step into, don't get me wrong, I can do it. But it's just exhausting, acting outside of alignment with who I really am, my introverted tendencies, 24/7. So I've always been more on the quiet side, more of a man of few words. But I think the twisted thing is we live in a world where from the youngest of ages, we're being sent messages that this part of ourselves isn't okay, that it's something we'll grow out of, or there's some kind of cause for concern if you're just not as social as everyone else. I remember getting this when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my first ever teachers in primary school, giving my parents feedback in my school report or whatever. He doesn't engage much with the class, he doesn't put his hand up very often. Sometimes he wants to go and play on his own. And that's framed as if it's like, if there's a problem with like having a bit more of like a solitary kind of personality. And this is really twisted. Like the reason I'm making this video, it's not been triggered by like any one experience that's happened recently, but although I could name you like a good 100 experiences I've had growing up where I've made to feel like a bit of a second class citizen for being introverted. I've just been reading this book, it's called Quiet by Susan Cain, and it talks about how it feels like as introverts we're living in a world which isn't designed for us, or where we are the square peg expected to fit into everyone else's round hole, like we are expected to fit into someone else's mold. And it all comes from the expectations of the corporate world. And this is what I really don't like. This feels very dystopian to me, but this book talks about the history of introverts and extroverts, how back in the day, when everyone was living on farms and doing quite manual jobs, we weren't even really aware of these concepts because they had no bearing on your ability to do the job. If you're out milking the cows or something like that, it literally makes no difference whether you're like somewhat reserved or quite an energetic, extroverted kind of person. All that mattered was your character, your set of values. Is this person honest? Are they able to do a good job? Can I trust them? Those are the things that were important, but then everyone started moving into the cities following the opportunities, and these big American corporations grew from like a small number of employees to employing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And they set the definition for what the ideal worker looked like. And every single one of these people that they wanted to hire had a salesman personality. That was their ideal personality type. It's not just someone who can come up with the best ideas. It's someone who can present them to the board without fear or hesitation, get up in front of some important executives and present the ideas. So it's no longer about just being the person who can come up with ideas or just being the person who can communicate those ideas. Across the corporate world, the expectation is this hybrid person, this extroverted person, this highly motivated person who is able to also sell their ideas, convey confidence and conviction and all of this. And I'm kind of left thinking whilst reading this, and the book points this out as well. It's like, I think it's quite rare to find a person naturally gifted in both of those areas. Like, there's some people who are extremely gifted communicators, but they're not creative. But then a lot of creative types, they do their best work alone, not when they're forced to share like a massive office space with people and constantly be working in teams. You need a bit of time on your own. That's more how I feel anyway. But people who possess both of those two attributes, I feel like they are quite hard to come by. But the expectation has now been set that even if you are naturally more reserved, even if you're maybe not the best person to articulate the ideas, which is fine, in my opinion, you've got to face your fears and you've got to get up there, push through it, get the job done. There's no such thing as an introvert in the corporate world. And yes, I know not everywhere will have this approach to like introverts, but it is true that the vast majority of people are looking for that more extroverted person. I've been in job interview situations. I've told this story before. I got invited to this. I was working with like a recruitment company, so their job is to find a job for me. And they put me up for this job interview. And it turned out it was a group interview. So I'm in the room with 5 other people there, all competing for the same job. And it's like everyone had the same idea going in, that we've got to compete for attention. No one wanted to be the one sitting silently in the background, because everyone treated that as like, if I'm not center of attention, then I'm a passenger. They're going to overlook me. They're going to give the job to the next guy. So even though this is not how I'd normally act, like, you know, I am more of an observer. I do listen. I like to think about things before I speak. I found myself having to like compete with these guys, talk over them in order to get what I was trying to say across. But the caveat was, I ended up saying some dumb shit just because I wanted to be heard. I just wanted to not go unnoticed in this room. And I ended up saying some dumb things that I wouldn't usually say. And then I ended up like not even getting the job in the end. It's this whole culture, this whole like salesman culture of personality kind of thing that prioritizes being dominating social interactions, getting your thoughts out there at all cost, at the expense of other people's thoughts. Speaking for the sake of speaking, even when you yourself are not completely confident in your answer, but you have to show that you are confident. You're saying something that could be really dumb with a whole lot of conviction. And that's what's taught in a lot of the top business schools. It's like, you can't afford to be a spectator. You need to be a leader. We're shaping the leaders of the future at these universities, and we need you to master getting your thoughts out there, master teamwork, even though it's not really teamwork, it's just 1 or 2 individuals dominating, not really listening to other people who may be more competent at this particular thing. And then the rest of the group kind of nodding their heads in agreement, taking the path of least resistance because it feels easy. And that's how you get things like groupthink, like people agreeing to ideas which are fucking dumb, because 1 or 2 people, I'm not like having a go at all extroverted people. I've got friends who are extroverted, but 1 or 2 people who dominate the conversation, convincing everyone that some dumb bullshit idea is like the way forward. So I guess what I fit into all of this is, it's like, I feel like this idea has just been drilled into me from school that if I lean into my introverted tendencies, if I kind of stand back and listen to things, if I process things deeply and choose my words, then I'm going to get overlooked. That actually, if I prefer working on my own to working in teams, which I do, that still holds true, that I'm not a team player, that I've got some kind of antisocial personality. And to be honest, I don't have all of the answers. I'm still figuring this out. And I've gotten used to putting on this extroverted face. Like, a lot of people think that being introverted and being a quiet guy is synonymous with being awkward or having bad social skills. There was a time I definitely had bad social skills. Like in school, I was very nervous and pretty socially awkward, and found it hard to speak to the people around me. But a lot of that came from, it was these ideas being planted in my head that something which I'd known from birth as like, this is kind of how I am. I'm a quiet person. I don't really mind that. Suddenly people are kind of judging me for it and telling me that it's a negative thing. So of course that puts me on my guard around people. When everyone's asking you, why are you so quiet? Why do you never speak up? And you haven't ever looked upon that side of yourself as something negative before, it puts you on your guard and you don't feel totally safe in the environment. So I think in school I actually became like a lot more quiet because of things like that. But since then I would say I have good social skills, and I think most people do when they're feeling safe and comfortable, when they're with people they trust. But I've had to put on this extrovert face, and I'm not entirely sure if that was the right move all the time. I'm very good around like new people. Like that's probably as loud and as energetic as you'll see me. Like I'm pretty confident when it comes to introducing myself to people, and I make an effort. But what's interesting is like the longer that it goes on, the more quiet I actually get, because that's my like natural personality coming out. Around my closest friends, we talk, but sometimes we don't talk. And one of the nicest parts about our friendship is that we feel comfortable going lengths of time without saying anything to each other, but it doesn't feel awkward because you're just kind of enjoying each other's company, and I don't feel pressure to be talking all the time. And it was nice. It'd be nice if I could feel like that all the time, but even now I am more comfortable, and I feel less of a need to maybe prove myself to other people, more because I have things I can be confident about. And I mean, where does confidence come from anyway? It comes from knowing and trusting that you're good at certain things, and that, I can do a job regardless of how talkative I'm feeling. But I still struggle with just shallow individuals, and I try not to give them the time of day, but it's people who've actually convinced themselves that I'm more of an extroverted person, because that's how much of this face that I put on. Like when I go traveling, I do a lot of solo travel and I meet all kinds of people. And I've heard people describe others who are maybe like naturally a bit more like me, like naturally less talkative, and completely misread them. Like there's certain people I had conversations with, and I naturally was able to relate to them because I saw them like, you're like me, you're introverted. That doesn't mean you're awkward, you're not confident. I met some funny motherfuckers, and like some of the funniest people in my life, but they weren't that talkative, and they still had like a certain confidence about them. And I've had other people come up to me and be like, oh yeah, that guy's awkward. He seems like he's a bit shy. And I'm like, in my head I'm thinking, how on earth have you like read this person to be that way? Like, the thing is with the people who talk down on introverts and dismiss them, because there are still too many people out there like that. I feel like it must be worse for anyone who's watching from America, because you guys really are like into this idea of like everyone needs to be a salesman. But with introverts, we're kind of like blank slates. We don't give everything away right away. And some people don't like that, because like it or not, everyone's playing games of status, and we like to compare ourselves to others and figure out where we lie in the social hierarchy versus everyone else. Am I above this person? Am I below them? when people don't give you everything away and they don't immediately show you who they are, a lot of the times we end up projecting our own insecurities onto those people. Others look upon introverts and think, oh, they must be weird, they must be awkward or lacking in social skills. It's all a projection. It's all a way to make them feel better about who they are. Because I'm glad to say that I've met introverts now, like in very high ranking positions. Like the guy who runs my organization, the CEO, he's pretty introverted. And people respect the hell out of him. Like, I would say he's not always the most warm person, but deeply professional and good at what he does. From what I can tell, just like a master of negotiation. And those introverted tendencies kind of benefit him there. Like, he doesn't feel the need to just talk and talk and talk. Really does pick his words. Sometimes uses silence to his benefit. Like, imagine you're trying to get something out of someone else. The one not talking all the time holds all the cards and can actually prompt someone into giving away their hands, if that makes sense. I don't want this video to sound negative or anything like that, because whilst I acknowledge the disadvantages we have in this world as introverts, like it's not designed for us, things are changing. And I mean, my workplace, I've shown them giving opportunities to introverts and recognizing where their strengths lie, and somewhat think that everyone should have the ability to step outside their comfort zone from time to time. Like, speaking is not something that comes naturally to me, but I'm still here on YouTube. Sometimes I used to feel the need to be making so many edits, cutting out mistakes and stuff. I couldn't sit here and just talk for however long like this. But yeah, I think whilst everyone should be able to step outside their comfort zone, it's important to acknowledge that, there's nothing broken about you. Like, I've kind of come full circle with this, trying to abandon my introverted side, but I've realized that yes, I have a fucking great social life, and I love things that maybe extroverts like. Like, I love partying, I love meeting people, love traveling on my own and meeting cool people, but I also deeply appreciate time spent on my own. And in order for me to be creative and unlock my true strengths, I need to be on my own. And that's where I struggle with most modern working. They force you to collaborate with other people. 1 hour a day would be fine, but it's more than that. It's all the time, open plan offices. So yeah, whilst I don't want to come across as negative, I'm still learning. And I want to make more videos about how to survive in this extroverted world that we're living in as an introverted person. How to actually leverage some of those introverted traits to your advantage. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, rant over. Take care, man.